better than that. Hey, everyone. I am Dr. Tori J. I am your founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. Super excited to be on here. You can see we're in a different location. And look at Tokyo. hmm He's got to be next to Mama when she's sitting here for some reason. And you may see him on camera for a moment. But I am so excited. It's Healing Tuesday, and we're about to go in. We're about to go in because we're going to revisit something that we've talked about a lot, but I had a few conversations over the weekend, and it made me realize that this is something I need to constantly, bring back and just hammer it in over and over and over again. I got some amazing juice earlier, hibiscus with pineapple and something else. My God. Um, Let me tell you, today has been phenomenal. Today has been an exciting day for me. So let me tell you a little bit about my day. I won't go into all of my secrets, but I am in Atlanta, where I typically come. Some of you are like, wait, you're in Atlanta? You're visiting? No, I've been coming home every couple of weeks to work, get things done that I need to get done, and then go back to Florida. And nope, you're gonna jump on top of mommy's juice. Um, and I got to tape 5 amazing new episodes of my podcast. Yes, I can't wait for you to see them. We have one that's airing right now. Go to YouTube. Go to I've Got Daddy Issues with Dr. Tori J, because there's some shows that are called Daddy Issues with a bunch of guys it's a podcast. But mine is I've Got Daddy Issues with Dr. Tori J. Go listen to the conversations we already had, but we elevated that thing on Sunday. And it's back to back to back. I am still exhausted, people. I am still tired, but I'm excited to continue to educate. And what the podcast is doing is taking hot topics or things that you would see on the news or people that you would see, y'all know y'all like celebrity gossip. Don't even pretend like you don't. We're taking those moments and we're using those moments and actually showing you how to connect the dots of someone's fatherless journey so that then you examine yourself and go, wait, am I doing the same thing? And so we had 2 amazing conversations with 2 men. Each episode killed it. Sins of the fathers. And then we did fatherless sons behaving badly. Then I had a conversation with who I call my namesake. She's the other Dr. Tori. I'm Dr. Tori J. She's Dr. Tori Love. We talked about reunification. And then from there, we talked about the becoming of a narcissist and how that looks in a fatherless situation. And then I tackled a conversation in a situation that I don't know if most people would do it, but I did it. I talked about fatherlessness and domestic violence within the LGBTQIA plus community. And we did that. And so I'm going to continue to elevate conversations to help you heal and do them on different platforms through different mediums. And that's what I've been able to do. So tonight, I want to get into this conversation of revisiting the father wound. Let me see. Hey, Darren, how are you? Hold on. I don't know if I need to wipe this off. I don't know if it's funny how they have you open up your laptop right in the spot where the camera is. So I don't know if I see a little, let me smudge it. Let me see. No, that's not different. It might be a little different, but it's not that different. So tonight, do you guys see this? Look, you see this? He just sat in my lap. Okay. So tonight we're going to talk about revisiting the father wound. I know you guys have had, we've discussed it a few times, and I've talked about the father wound with you and what that looks like. And many of you can guess what that is, right? You can kind of give an idea of what it is, but I want to break it down for you, maybe a little differently than I have before. I want to talk about the father wound, how we get stuck in it, how male versus female gets stuck in it. So just listen to me tonight as I share this information with you. If you are watching this in replay, please put replay in the box. And if you know someone, you think you know someone, share. Okay. The more you share, the more we can get people informed and educated on what's going on. Oh, you need a lot of love right now. That's not good. So the father wound is actually an emotional scar that comes from and is the result of an unhealthy relationship with our fathers. Now, some people would think unhealthy. What does that look like? Well, that could be anything from Dad didn't live in the home and you had resentment concerning him not being in the home. Dad left, right? So you feel resentful or some kind of way because he left, or he was abusive, or he neglected you, or you weren't good at communicating, or he wasn't good at communicating his feelings. You can have unresolved issues with your dad and not being able to communicate it because you've been taught to be respectful, so you've been holding it all in. And so that then can create an unresolved father wound. And I know some people are like, well, don't we all have that? A lot of us do. A whole lot of us do. And the fact that a lot of us have this issue, and we need to we need to deal with it. It is dictating your relationships. One of my favorite songs, and I've posted it, it's one of my favorite songs. I've been like rocking with it right now a lot. I probably listen to it, if not every day, every other day. And it's the conversation. Let me see. Because I screenshotted the quote. I screenshot the quote. So I don't even want to have to go to the song. But Kendrick Lamar has a song called Daddy Issues, where it's called Father Time. And I've told you guys this before, and I've probably said this on here before. But he says, oh man, hold on. I screenshot this. I know this is somewhere. And I want to say the quote correctly. I do not want to paraphrase it. I don't think paraphrasing it does it any justice. I'm close. It is important that you recognize your father wound, because when you don't, you find yourselves in difficult situations. You find yourself in relationships that you don't even recognize that's what's happening. You don't even recognize that's what's happening. And that's what this is getting at. He said, where is this quote? See, when I'm listening to the song, I know it. Like I'm rapping. I don't know what my rap name is. I don't think I have one, but I'm definitely going along with the song. I don't feel right if I don't say it, because it's so important. Oh, I want to say it exactly how he said it. Why am I being such a stickler about it? Do I know this? See, now I'm being just ridiculous. I clearly have a lot of stuff in my phone that I need to delete. It is not that far. Hold on. I have to say this. I'm going to just find it, the album in my library. Give me like 5 seconds. I'm not going to play. Oh, see, now it's trying to play. Now it's trying to play for you. Now it's trying to play. See, I'm not going to let that happen. Go to album. Go to the song. See, and this is what Apple Music is trying to do now. I can't even find, I can't find it, and then it won't play the lyrics for me. Ain't that something? He says something, and I'm going to paraphrase it. I didn't want to do that. Daddy issues have me twisted in a way or from a direction that I can't see. And so when he says it, and I know that last line is from a direction I can't see. And so that last line, I think, is it's so important. That's why I wanted to really stick it, really give it to you, right? But here's the challenge. Many of you don't even realize that your daddy issues really do have you twisted from a direction that you can't see. You can't, your daddy issue, your father wound is a blind spot. It is a place in you that you're missing. And some of you, your fatherless journey, because this is adult night tonight, right? We're not talking about your children and you not having your children. We're not talking about legislation tonight. We're talking about the pain that you've endured as an adult. We're talking about the pain and the journey that you've gone through. And as you've gone through this pain, you never healed it. And part of the reason you didn't heal it is because it had you twisted, and it had you looking for things like you couldn't see it. It's a blind spot. Fatherlessness is a trauma that I know many of us don't even recognize. And how can you recognize it? One of the things that happened over the last week is there is an Asian gentleman who is reading fatherless statistics. And he's just reading them. He didn't come up with them. He didn't do the research. He didn't do the studies. He's just reading them. He even reads Malachi 4 from the Bible. chapter 4, verse 5. He's reading it. It's why we're here. It's why I do this work. And I posted it on TikTok. I'm on TikTok. I've been on TikTok for a few months now. Lord Jesus, help us. It's a different medium. Men are duetting it, saying, our children need us. Mothers are arguing in the comments, Mama, if you're on here tonight, stop that. Oh, these have been debunked. One lady even said, if children are raised in a financially stable home, they have access to more things than children in poverty. And so they don't have the issues that this man is talking about. I don't respond to a lot of the stuff on TikTok. It can be super negative. They'll try to drag you into conversations you didn't want to go in. Jesus ain't real. Yeah, it gets crazy. So I chose to answer her. I chose to respond. And I said, so what you're saying is when children have money versus no money, they don't have any challenges with not having their father present. Which what you're saying is you can just get a check and the father doesn't have to be present and the child is okay. This isn't real. This isn't real. I don't care how much the money it is. Yes, being financially stable, you can afford some things. Counseling, because you're going to need it, because having money does not diminish the fact that your children are scarred and they're hurt. I don't want to tell too much of her business, but today I had, I'm literally just coming from that meeting, changed clothes and went and walked Tokyo. But I was meeting with a young lady I've known since she was 9 years old. She was one of the first, she was in one of the very first peer groups that I had. One of the first children. It was like, 10, 11 of them? And she was one of the first. And I'll never forget having the information meeting, telling the kids what we're going to do. We gave them these really cool, slick, glossy, two-sided glossy flyers. And this one took my flyer, made an airplane out of it, and threw it across the room. But her and her brother became not that all the children weren't, but they would come to different events and go from table to table and talk to people and why they should donate. Like they wanted to come and be a part of things like that. And they would come do panel discussions with other people, other kids in the peer groups. We had one at the History Center. And today she had us both crying at dinner. And she said, the things I learned in your group when I was going through things with my parents and when my parents divorced and then my mother and her significant other were battling it out. I went through a lot of things. I do have bipolar disorder, but now I know how to deal with it. I do have depression. I do take medication. She said, but there were times in my life when I wanted to go left, but I remembered the things I learned in your program and it made me go right. She said, Miss Tori, you leave an imprint on people's soul. I was done today. I'm telling you, we were eating sushi and a blubbering mess. It was a blessing to know that a 9-year-old that I worked with for 3 years, and her and her brother, and the work that we did, it didn't take away her father wound, but it gave her the tools to deal with it. She says, I still write in my journal, and sometimes I can do it for hours at a time. And it's because I learned how to start in your group. See, some of you wish you would have had this stuff as a kid. And she was trying to give me she was like, I'm talking about your program to my friends who were in college. She's in college now. She'll be a junior this year. And I'm trying to talk to my friends, and I am talking to my friends about what I've learned in your group. And they're like, dang, I wish I had that. She said, because what they're battling with is how to navigate being an adult while trying to figure out how to heal at the same time. And it's overwhelming for them as 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. So imagine how we handled it. Some of you are that age on here or who will watch it. Some of us are much older than that. Did you do the same thing they did or they're doing? They don't have an outlet. They don't have a way to channel that. So what you do is you just go about and you suppress it and you get your schoolwork done and you just focus on what it means to become an adult and be an adult. And in the midst of that, you're still struggling with the inner wound of not having your father where you needed him to be. You have this feeling of lost because your dad wasn't there. You're angry. And you realize, I don't care what you tell me, there are moments in your life where you realize you're missing a vital part of who you are. You're missing a vital part of your emotional intelligence and your communication skills. And these things should have been passed down to you from your father. But you didn't get that developmental part because your dad wasn't present. Your dad wasn't where he needed to be. And so when you let that father wound grow without resolving it, you find yourself addressing the symptoms of the wound without addressing the underlying problem. You continue to walk through this space and this place, just addressing some of the symptoms. I always say, we play with the leaves, but not the root. The root problem is your father wound. The root problem is your dad wasn't there to give you what you needed. And that wasn't just about love. That was also about development. I'm slurring my words today. You needed the development. You're not responsible for what happened to you, but you're responsible to heal. So you need self-development in order to get there. There's a whole section. You can go to Amazon, you can go to Barnes and Nobles, you can Google it. Self-development is key and it's necessary. The reason you need self-development is because you get to develop the areas that your parents weren't available or didn't have the knowledge on how to do that. You guys need to do this. You need to do this work for yourself. We don't even realize what the problem is most of the time. And as a result, you know what you feel all the time? You feel inadequate. And you don't even know why you feel inadequate. You don't even understand because the molding that you had happen in your life and in your journey, it wasn't what you needed it to be. Uh-oh. Hey, Miss Novella. Novella said hi. She said, that's the new age parenting wrapped in a whole bundle of daddy issues. You can never duplicate the absence of your father, supplemented by things, money, interim supplies to cover for the loss of their father. This is the one thing I've learned on TikTok. Mothers think that they can. I've felt this like in my journey, but they are very vocal over on that platform. Okay, like, whoo. They believe that you can provide money. And let me be honest, I don't know if it's totally new age because I don't believe my mother did it like this, but you got to think about how single mothers had to hold it down. They had to work. They had to make sure you had a home, you had clothes, you had, food and shelter and all this stuff, right? And so in some ways, making sure you had all of those things is like, it's about financially providing, but you don't get the emotional love and attention that you needed. Wasn't all bad. I didn't have a bad childhood. I didn't see it that way. Even though I look back now and I realize that I was, parentified, but who wasn't? And then in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we had what was called latchkey children. I don't remember us being latchkey kids. Mom was typically home either before we went to school, and that was here and there because she worked at General Motors. So she did her best to make sure she was home at night. It was very rare, but sometimes you got to work shifts that you don't want to work because you're up in the rotation. So there were times when she wasn't. So I guess we had babysitters. I don't remember. I think I was maybe 15 or 16 before my mother let babysitters come in. And the babysitters were really across the street. Yeah. And so I just think about knowing friends though who had to be latchkey kids. Knowing friends who they had to cook and clean and do homework with their siblings in order to make sure everything was okay. And here we then look at it and go, okay, this is what I had to do. This was the norm in my home, and I saw it in other individuals' homes. And now I'm supposed to now see this as trauma. Yeah, but it was. It's like what the young lady said to me at dinner. She said her friends are constantly like, this happened to me and so on and so on. And she kind of stops and goes, you were abused. Hello. That's not supposed to happen to you. Hello? Like that's not a thing. And so when Novella, when you say, it's all these daddy issues and you never can duplicate the absence of your father or of your father or the kid's father, supplemented by things, money, and interim supplies to cover for the loss of the father. Unfortunately, I want ladies to hear what she just said. You still think that that's real. When I post on social media about children needing their fathers, mothers immediately go to, my children graduated from college. They are successful in their jobs, which goes back to things and money, Novella. They never say my children are at peace. They're emotionally sound. They've gone to therapy. They're healed and whole. They go immediately to their children went to college. They have degrees and they have great jobs and they're successful. We're still equating success, what success looks like, to money and things. And then let me tell you what happens to us and what's happened to some of you. What you do to cover for the loss of your father is you get in different relationships. You have different coping and addictions, coping skills, or I won't even call them skills, coping mechanisms. That's the word. You have addictions. You have behavioral disorders. You have the things that we can't see on the inside. See, this is what we've learned, Novella, with the idea that things, money, and interim supplies, this is what we've learned. We've learned no one cares about what's on the inside of me as long as what they see is things, money, and me covering. No one cares. As long as I present well, as long as my bank account says I'm good. But on the inside, there's something off and you know it. You lack emotional intelligence and communication skills. Those are the number two things that show you that you have a father wound. You already know you fatherless, right? Like some of you don't know. That's the other part. Jesus, you don't know. And I know you don't know because people tell me all the time when they get on here, I didn't know I was fatherless. I didn't know I was fatherless until I met you. Ooh, good one, Darren. Double life. You go to work and you show out. You perform. But you go home, close that door. You depressed, you sad. You a few things. You might be abusive. I don't know. And I'm not just talking about men. Because see, that's where y'all go. I've seen some abusive women. And it's your daddy issues that's influencing all of that. But because you don't even know, it's got you twisted from directions and it's got you blind from places that you can't even see. You have to resolve this father wound. You have to resolve it. Let me see it this way. Hold on. I want to see what Novella said. Oh, she said new age in the sense of normalizing it as a phenomenon. Yeah, that's true. Women back then had to do it because they had no choice and lesser options. We are in an information age. We have access to more resources and options, or maybe not. We have access to it, Novella. We do. Whether or not we choose to access it is up to us. I will tell you this, and even the meeting that I had today, Novella, I'm gonna text you something when I get off of here. It's so amazing what happened today. I don't want to share it like this yet. It's this crazy, crazy place where I know, because we've heard it over and over and over again. I want to know my purpose. I want to walk in my purpose. God, please, 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 please give me my purpose. Like that's what we do. We want the purpose so bad because we've heard about people who follow their purpose and they're in their God-given purpose and we want it so bad. And then we cry out for it and then God shows you, your mama lied to you. Oh no, I don't want my purpose if I have to go through that. If I have to process that, never mind. And you don't even realize that that's really what you're being asked to do. You just start getting information sent to you. At the more you cry out for your purpose, the more your life seems to fall out the bottom. And you're running because you don't want to acknowledge the fact that in order to access your purpose, You got to process the pain. And so Novella says we're in an information age and we have more resources and options. We have access to that stuff. We do. But too many are turning a blind eye because they don't want to process the pain in order to get the information and the resources. They don't want to process the pain in order to get to the purpose. I've had to process a lot of pain. I know, like Kari, I now know how to just do it. And sometimes stuff comes up um, in conversation, and you're like, I talked on doing the after the show live last night. We air the podcast on Thursdays at noon, and on Mondays at 9 p.m. I come on and fill in the gaps of what's developed since the podcast aired. Really, sometimes since we taped it. Some of the stuff people inbox me that they learn, things of that nature, right? And so when I was doing this thing last night about, is Cam Newton right? Cam Newton was talking about women should, what do you say? Women, you're bad this, you bad that, you got your pocket, you got your bag, but you can't cook. You don't know when to be quiet, and you don't know when to let a man lead. And so we were asking the question, is Cam Newton right on this podcast? Don't jump down my throat. Go listen to the podcast so you'll know what I said and what was said. But last night when I was doing after the show, I felt the Holy Spirit leading me. I'm not going to address whether or not a woman can cook. Like, y'all know better than that. Like, it's not even about a role reversal or roles in a household. Like, you need to eat, and you need to make sure your spouse can eat. Even if y'all do 50-50 on the cooking, there's 365 days you're going to eat out all the time. Like, and I'm not going to touch that whole thing about a man should lead, because there's plenty of stuff out there right now. And I felt the leading on being quiet. And I'm sharing this tonight because you guys weren't on there, and because it was on I've Got Daddy Issues page. But this is what was crazy that came up. I felt like I needed to tear the layers apart of what being quiet meant. It's about what you say with your mouth. And ladies, sometimes we talk crazy, and our mouths are supposed to be a weapon to destroy what the enemy's doing, and trying to tear down our house, and we use it as a weapon to defend our home. But sometimes we use it to tear it down. But then there was this place where I grabbed my phone. My phone's right here. I grabbed my phone and I went to my Webster's 1828 dictionary. See, right there. And I typed in the word quiet. See, right there. And when I typed in the word quiet, I'm going to read it for you guys too. Still, being in a state of rest, free from alarm or disturbance. And this is what shook me. Unmolested. What you say? It said peaceable, not turbulent, not giving offense, not exciting controversy, disorder, or trouble. And when I went to molested and molest, it said to be troubled, to be disturbed, to have a disorder. And where's the other one? To be troubled, to be disturbed. Yeah. And to be turbulent. And I was like, wait a minute, whoa. Quiet is subjective. Absolutely. Right. And so there was layers. And so when Cam said this, there was something more in what he said, Novella. Like, I don't know, maybe I took it someplace, but last night God wanted to take it some places. You can't bring peace to a situation when you're troubled, or when someone has troubled you. And I recognize that growing up fatherless, and when you have a father wound and your dad wasn't there to protect you, or your dad wasn't, all these things that are happening, I'll say it. One of the conversations that Pastor John Gray has a lot, when he's talking about his wound, and he's talking about how he was molested in the front yard of his home at 4 years old. And it has caused him some wounds and some dysfunctions and some issues, right? And so I've not seen any statistics concerning fatherlessness and molestation. But I do know that conversation is had a lot when a father isn't present in the home. And I know some of you will say, well, sometimes it's the father. That's true, but it's not as often as you think it is. That's rare that happens. But when I think about this word quiet, and it says to be unmolested, and that means molested means to be troubled, to be disturbed. Like to be disturbed, turbulent. I'm gonna go to it right now because I was not ready. And as I'm talking to you even now, it breaks my heart. Disturbed, troubled, and annoyed. To molest, to trouble, to disturb, to render uneasy. And I said last night, and I'll say it to you as women and men on here tonight. When you have a father wound, like I mentioned Pastor John Gray a moment ago, and I try not to say his name just because he is someone I've known in my past as a friend. And I don't want to make it like I'm disparaging him, but I recognize a father wound when I see one. And so when you have molestation and when you've been molested and people are talking about you being quiet, it is hard. And I'm not talking about with your mouth, I'm talking about with your presence. It is hard to feel peace and be still and be calm when you're troubled because someone troubled you. When you're disturbed because someone disturbed you. And when fathers aren't present, and then you have these moments where abuse has taken place and it's brought harm, hurt, danger, turbulence, trouble, annoyance, frustration. And then people say, well, you don't even know how to be quiet. Yeah, because I'm disturbed. I haven't healed the inner part of myself. And we have to recognize that getting in relationships, it's not the answer to your problem. Another relationship, it's not the answer to your problem. You have to find peace within yourself before you can speak peace or be peace to someone else. I hope you heard me. You have to find peace on the inside of yourself before you can speak peace or be peace to someone else. You can't be peace in a relationship. I'm not telling you got to come healed and whole to a relationship. I am not that girl. I believe relationships do heal. But some of you have to do the work. There's some work that has to be done first before you jump into relationships to heal the father wound. Like you've got to do some healing work first so that the relationship comes and brings some of the healing that you need, but it's not all of it. Because there's nothing wrong with reaching out and seeking the nurturing from a partner, whether male or like male or female. If you're female and that's what you like, you're looking for the nurturing and the comfort, but you can't use people for what it is that you want and try to cover up the wound with this relationship. And I'm going to say it because I say this all the time. I'm on LinkedIn with this conversation. And now people are like, but this is a professional site. And I say that all the time on here because there are so many individuals that are professional and killing the game in their career, but destructive and troubled and all of these things in their relationships. As Darren called it, a double life. And so how do you go about working with that? Hey, Trey. Anger is the outspoken spirit of dislike. Oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna leave that up there for a quick second. Anger is the outspoken spirit of dislike. Okay. And I will tell you, that's one of the emotions that I feel like fatherless sons and fatherless daughters have a lot of. I really do. And then here's the other part. We have to take responsibility for our own lives, our own anger, our own resentment. And we can't expect somebody else to carry that burden for us. I don't care if you're male or female. You can't expect someone to want to be in a relationship with you and carry the burden of you not wanting to do the work and process your own trauma. I've learned that those who are unhealed will try to project the responsibility of their wound or their wounded selves onto other people. And we then become the victim and we blame others for all of our faults and the shortcomings that we have, right? That's what we do. And when you have this unprocessed trauma, that's what you're doing. You're doing it over and over and over and over and over again. And then you find yourself on the Fatherless Generation Foundation's page or in the fatherless generation or a dad who's alienated. And I got to tell you, Amy Baker did that study. And if you were alienated, I know Black people, y'all don't know what that means. I will share this with you. I was on the phone with one of the aforementioned, like she is the person. When you go watch, when you Google parental alienation TED Talk, it's her. And she is killing the game. Dr. Jennifer Harmon is a parental alienation expert. She's done a lot of the research. And as we were on the phone last week, we were talking about Amy Baker's work and how Amy Baker would tell you in her work that if you were alienated as a child, you have a 50% chance of actually being alienated as a father. You hear me? If you were alienated as a child, there's a 50% chance. Wait, if you were alienated as a child, I'm sorry. If you were alienated as a child, I hope I said that right. If you were alienated as a child, you have a 50% chance of being alienated as a father. That's a high number. So some of you on here tonight, part of the reason you're alienated, we're going to break that down in a minute. My baby mama won't let me see my kids. That's alienation. Then it turns into a psychological situation. And you don't know what alienation means, so you don't even realize why you're going through this. But if I connect the dots to your journey and your fatherless journey, I can tell you exactly why you're behaving the way that you're behaving. Parents got divorced when you were 3 or 4. Watch your dad walk out of your life. You are now in a state of arrested development. You need to go to a therapist to get that worked out so that you can grow and develop into the person you're supposed to be. Because honestly, how you show up in a relationship is typically at that age in which your father left. So if your father left at 3, you're a 3-year-old in your relationships. That's how you show up. No, you 40 at work. You're 3 in your relationships. It's time to communicate. When it's time to have emotional intelligence, you're 3. Because you never got the healing that you needed. You were never able to do the work that you needed to do. And when I'm talking about Jennifer Harmon, Dr. Jennifer Harmon, what was insane to me is she's done a lot of research. She was sending it to me in some of the new ones in the meeting. I was like, Jesus, like I'm gonna have to read this stuff on the plane, because it was a lot with some amazing people. And as we begin to talk about the African American community, she was like, you know what? I don't even know what questions to ask because I don't know if they know. And I said, no, I didn't know. I didn't know if that's what you called it, right? I never thought my mother didn't lie about my dad in that way. Like we just never discussed it. That's how I felt about it. And I'm not putting blame or that's not where I'm at all. I understand. If I would have been just for a second, my siblings have challenges that I don't have because by the time I did meet my father, I had the best version of him. So if you would have had more time, I don't think that at all. I had the best version of him. I had the best. It happened when it was supposed to happen. So one of the conversations Dr. Jennifer Harmon and I are having is, what are the questions you ask to help find out if Black children who are now adults were alienated? Because we don't know that terminology. Dad just didn't come. Dad left. Dad was supposed to come pick us up and he didn't. Dad didn't pay child support. Like we don't ask all the questions some other cultures ask. And that's part of what we're about to start asking some questions. Because if we can lock in this information, we can heal on a different level. If we can gather this information in a certain kind, we can heal on a different level. And we can then stop projecting the responsibility of all that we've gone through, making ourselves the victim and blaming others for what happened to us, right? Or how we behave badly. My mother and father, I want them to take ownership in what happened, in the fact that I did grow up fatherless, but I don't blame either one of them. I want them to be accountable, but I don't blame them at all. I don't have any feelings concerning that. I'm not broken, I'm not hurt, I'm not disturbed by it in the least bit. because I'm grown and I get it. Have you guys ever walked that journey? You realize as an adult, you don't always make the best decisions. You make the decisions that you figure out at the time. Like you do your best. And they did their best. I'm dope. My mother raised me, and my father came and put the cherry and the whipped cream on top. That's what he did. She said, "What were you told? What did you feel happened as a child? What happened when you asked to see or talk to your father?" Ooh. Okay, so let me leave this up here so I can answer these questions. And I see Darren, I see your comment. I'll bring that up in a minute. There was a man in my life till I was about 5 or 6. He was gone. I still remember the picture I had. I may have it somewhere. My mother still, maybe she threw it away. I don't know. But I remember this man. He had a big old afro, light-skinned guy. And he was in my life. He was in my life until I was about 5 or 6. I remember going to to his parents' house, which would have been my grandparents' house. I could probably take you at least the vicinity of where they lived. He was around and he was in my life. And one day we went to this building and I didn't know what the building was for. And they poked and prodded me and he disappeared after that. We never discussed it. It was never a conversation in our home. Even when my brother would see his father, I never said, "Mom, what happened to my dad?" I never asked the question, to be honest with you, Trey. I didn't even think up until I was about maybe 9 or 10. And I realized, I think Maury might have been on or something like that at that point. And in my own mind, I didn't say this to my mother. This might be the first time, if she's watching this, might be the first time she hears this. I remember saying in my mind, "Oh, that was a DNA test back then." But I never said anything to her about it. Not one word. Not one word. I never asked about my father. So when you say what happened when you asked to see or to talk to your father, I might have, when I was like 5 or 6, maybe I wondered at some point. I don't know the answer to that. But I just don't think I said anything. And a lot of that had to do with the fear of what she may or may not say. And then going back to something that Novella said a moment ago, we've normalized this thing. And so my cousins don't have dads. Not all of them. I mean, there's cousins who do have fathers, and I know who their fathers are. My brother had a father, but his father was challenging, right? But I didn't feel traumatized. I didn't. I didn't feel like I had trauma from this. Later on, you realize there's trauma because you lack development. You lack understanding of how things are supposed to be. A mother's not supposed to hold everything down, girlfriend. And that some of us have gotten into that. Even now, we still have women who are like, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. I do all. Girl, go sit down and take a breath. I don't need to be all of those things. I do not. I don't need to be superwoman. I want to be that to my husband in his eyes, right? I want to be that. Yeah, I want to be that person to him, but I don't need to be that to the rest of the world. Because I want my husband to adore me and to look at me in that way. Be like, my wife is a boss. Not in the sense that I'm that for the world, but I'm that for him. Some of you want to be all of that to all these people so that they can look at you. Because once again, it's the appearance of things. I don't care what y'all think. Y'all may think I do, but I promise you I don't. I want to show up as the best wife I can possibly show up as for the man who I love and who loves me. Period. And that's who matters. And so I don't know what happened as far as why I never brought it up or why I never said anything. I don't know. I have no idea. Darren said, accountability is the hardest part to own up to. Absolutely. Especially when you feel like you're the mother and you held it down and he was nowhere to be found and he wasn't this and he wasn't that. It's hard to own that part. But that means that as a mother, When you have those types of emotions and feelings, you need to go revisit your father wound as well. Because the fact that you can't own, and once again, we're not talking about blame, we're talking about accountability and acknowledgement, that are two different things. When someone is holding you accountable, if you have not done the work and gotten developed in that area, you'll see it as blame. You see it as them telling you you're wrong and how a horrible person you were, and you're a horrible parent, and you're a horrible this, and you're no, it's accountability. You're supposed to show up the way you say you're going to show up. If you are my mother or my father, you're supposed to do exactly that. And you may not have all of the tools, but you got to use some of them. Like, you got to go get some books, you got to go to some classes, you got to go do something. Because even the young lady that I was talking to tonight, oh, I can't imagine what it was like to be her parent. She can outthink you in a heartbeat. So I can't imagine trying to discipline that one in your home, and she's got an explanation. I can't imagine. Trey said, I think this is where the conversation starts for us as Black people. The why and the how. And the why and the how of what, Trey? Maybe you're going to give me my first questions that I can ask in my focus group. The why and the how. Why it happened and how do we fix it? Is that what you're getting at? I don't know. I don't want to guess. Here's the funny part that I need you to understand. And it's, some of you will say, well, that's not exclusive to fatherlessness. If the root of it is fatherlessness, it is. Did you know that a father wound, like when you experience a father wound, they say that you have unexplained emotional touchiness, or a quick temper, like, and the touchiness is not always something you can see at first, right? But it's reflected in your inability to take full responsibility for the experience. See, I'm a sensitive individual, but that's not emotional touchiness. There's a difference. I can take full responsibility. I may even cry in the midst of it a little bit, but it's not that I won't take, I will own it. And I'm not owning it out of fear. I'm not owning it out of anything wrong. I am, ooh, no, you didn't, Novella. I'm not going here with you tonight, girlfriend. But it's emotional touchiness that exists, where no one can tell you you're wrong without you popping off, without you feeling some kind of way. Because you guys, when you hear emotional, you think tears. And I've heard a lot of men on these podcasts saying women are emotional. They're just too emotional in their feelings. Yeah, and so are you. You got a whole lot of anger, and that's an emotion. Trey she's talking about it. She's talking about it. Novella, she said, who is having the motherless conversations that caused a fatherless experience? Meaning, although daddy was present, he was emotionally unavailable and tapped out feeling the gap of survival. He had tapped out feeling the gap of survival. Well, there are times when I do have that conversation, right? And they come after me. And I won't tell you that I know anyone who's having that. I think there's some men who are having it a little bit. I don't want to even tell you who. This is going to be tough. Kevin Samuels had that conversation, to be honest with you. That was one of the conversations he would have. That's why women had a hard time with Kevin Samuels, because he was making them be accountable and acknowledge the damage they had done. And it's just the fact. But I think if I thought of anyone, I would say, unfortunately and fortunately, it was Kevin Samuels, and he's passed on. There are individuals who are talking about motherlessness, motherless conversations, mother wound. That's a tough one, right? Because what has happened in some of my coaching groups is we've gone from healing their father wound to now the mother wound is there. And that thing is like, oh. You think the father wound is hard to deal with? Let me tell you, if you grew up fatherless, as you heal your father wound, your mother wound comes forward. And it is 10 times worse than the father wound. Because you realize your mother was toxic. You realize, like Novella said, like part of the reason your daddy might have left is because your mother was not a good woman. Because one of the things this book says that I'm reading with my coaching group, it's called um, a mother who can't love. Mom, if you're on here, get that book. Not because yeah, yeah. That woman says in the first chapter, healthy men don't stay with unhealthy women. And it's a woman who wrote this book. And then Novella, she wrote the book, she says, after her mama died. This is like, whoo, and I'm saying it all ghetto and in my ghetto vernacular, because I'm like, why do we have to do these things after our mothers have died? Kelly Rowland, I think, yeah, she didn't feel right reuniting with her father until her mother died. Like, we wait till mamas die to do certain things because we get so much pushback. We get so much pushback. That woman in that book said, like off the cuff, she's got you going, oh, healthy fathers don't stay with unhealthy mothers. So when Novella's asking this question, it's a very real question. I guess maybe you gave me my topic for next week. I know this topic. Trey said, how did you feel when your father left? Why are you angry? Oh, this is what you want to ask. Why are you angry or hurting? Okay, I'm gonna take note of those. I'm gonna take note of those right and look. Let me see if it'll let me copy. No, I don't want to delete the comment. And I see Trey. I think this was from Novella's comment. She was on the run, and Darren said, "Facts. Mom ran dad off," is what he's saying, and told a whole lie to the kids. Here's the challenge with this, y'all. It's true. If I think about how many cases I've had, and I'm not talking about reunification, I'm talking about coaching, relationships, especially let me go here, the adult reunifications. I'm working with a friend right now. Her mama lied. Her mama lied. Oh, her mama lied. When I tell you her mother lied, oh my God. The lie was so elaborate that when it came out, mama didn't, I'll say it this way, because I'm not trying to give away who my friend is, and I ain't trying to tell all her business. When the friend got a DNA test, she's 42 now, proving that her father, her mother was at one point married to, was like, oh, okay, this man, I'm glad he's my father. The other person, not my father. First thing the mother said, can child support come after me? Not congratulations, you found your father. Can child support come after me? Ma'am, ma'am, ma'am. Like, check. What are we doing here? She lied and got caught in the lie. Mm-hmm. Oh, you got kicked off, Novella. I see you back. And then Trey says, one of my homies' mama lied. Yeah. Lied. It happens a lot. It is the pain that has to be processed once you walk through your fatherless journey. I'm thinking while I'm talking about what's that number? What's the number that I want to give you as far as how many individuals that I've worked with? And if I look at them as a cluster and a group, how many, and I'm talking about, it's the hundreds when it comes to the adults. I'm not in the thousands with the adults, but I'll give it a few hundred. Maybe 65 to 70% of them learn their mother lied. Lied for various reasons. One gentleman, I'll never forget it. His mother lied about who his father was because his uncle was his father because he molested his mother. That's tough. So I don't want to make it like mama's just lying. Some of them are because they're trying to protect their own reputation and how their children see them. But that was a difficult situation. He'd been begging her, and finally it came out. That man had been parenting him his whole life. And, and it was tragic for him to learn that his uncle had molested his mother and was his father. There are individuals whose mothers will not tell the truth because they're protecting, once again, their reputation. Maybe they had sex with somebody they weren't supposed to have sex with and they were married, or they just had a one night stand, or whatever the conversation may be. Trust me, there've been a few conversations. There's been a few. And so, Novella, I guess you gave me my series I need to do next for the next couple of weeks, because that's going to take a minute. Darren said, too many moms are still living the lie as their children are having unsuccessful relationships with their children. Very true. So when you're in a co-parenting situation, the other partner is still living the lie and won't own up to the trauma they've endured. And now they're inflicting that in the relationship with the spouse or the ex-spouse, and also with the children. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then there are mothers who will be all in their children's business in their relationships and don't have one of their own, and telling lies in order to get their children back underneath their wing because they ain't got no man and they ain't got nothing to hold on to. So they're going to hold on to their children, and in a mesh situation. Yeah, that's called emotional incest. Yeah. Make your son your husband. Make your daughter your husband. That happens. Parentification. Yeah. Like, these things are happening, but we're not. It's normal to us. When your mother says to you, you're the man of the house, she knights you. You don't even realize how that plays out. And I did a live a few weeks ago. Oh no, this was last Wednesday. It was last Wednesday. I guess I'm supposed to do another one tomorrow too, huh? I'm trying to get my lives going. It was last Wednesday. And it's that picture of, who do you choose? Your wife, your mother, your baby mama, or your daughter? No, your wife, your mother, your daughter, your baby mama. It's in the right order, because you choose your wife first, right? But there's some people who are like, oh no, people don't come before your children. Then don't call me. Don't call me. And so when you are knighted the man of the house as a, I'm at least give it 14, because some of y'all doing it way too early. You shouldn't even do it at all. But you got boys at 8, 9, 10 years old who think they're the man of the house. And you wonder why he grows up and he can't have a committed relationship. And I broke it. I ain't even gonna say me. How God had me write it out. This goes back to your father wound. The Bible says, for this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. And cleaving meant a cutting. See, where's my phone? I like words. I'm going to read this for you guys. Cleave. This is the one that really got me. Where is it? To part or divide by force, to split or to ride, to open or to sever the cohering parts of a body by cutting or by the application of force. It goes to show you that you're supposed to be in a family unit, but when you get married and you get a wife, you have to cut that away, and it's by force. You have to cleave to your wife by force. It is natural, but not natural, because you want to be with your family. But here's what's happened to so many men. You became the man of the house. Find a wife. Don't know who to choose. You know why you don't want to choose? Because you are still busy tending to the house that your father left behind. You don't even know how to leave your mother and cleave to your wife. You don't even know how to leave what your father left and cleave to your wife, because you feel responsible for it. That's a father wound. That's a manifestation of a father wound. You can't have successful marriage because you can't let go of your mother in the respect. Not respect, because you got to respect your mother. You got to honor them. But in the aspect that you've been used to operating with her as her husband, you can't do it. You're like, I don't know how to do this. You know why? Because you've been her husband. You've been her husband. You've been carrying her emotions. And so you can't leave your mother and your father and cleave to your wife. And then here's the other part. You can't even leave the thoughts and mindsets and the patterns and the things that were um, that molded you and developed you to dysfunction. Because guess what? You can't leave it because my mother taught me that. My mother taught me that. You want me to let go of what my mother taught me? Yeah, because it was dysfunctional. Dysfunctional. It's not good for you. It doesn't work well in your relationship. It doesn't work well at all in the situation. Trey said for the moms in the back. Yeah. And for the sons in the back. You can't leave or leave your mother or your father and cleave to your wife because you are still tending to the house that your father left. I'm going to tell you right now, that's a word. And when God gave it to me a few weeks ago and I knew I was going to talk about it, I said, that's about to slay some folks. People are not ready for, they're going to be like, what? Yeah, you busy taking care of mommy. You don't know. How many of you seen that video? And it was a while ago where the mother pulls up in the girl's car. The young lady's he's picking her up from work or the hairdresser something. And the mother's sitting in the front seat. And the mother's like, I'm not moving to the back seat. And the girl's like, it's my car. And I'm his wife. I'm gonna be here when you gone. Wait a minute. I'm his wife, so I'm gonna be gone at some point. Yeah, because she behind the scenes praying and whispering to her son to get you out of there. Yes, absolutely. I know too many men going through this. Watched it. Front row seat. Yeah, oh, you saw this, Trey. She said, bruh, he was out of line for real, for real. How was he out of line? He was trying to respect his mother and honor his mother while doing this. You notice he felt pulled. Oh, come on, just get in the back seat. Oh, I don't want to deal with this right now. And that's how many of you get in trouble. You don't want to deal with the situation. You haven't had to deal with it because you got a father wound. How are you supposed to deal with it? No one taught you conflict, so you don't even know how to deal with conflict. You don't know. But yeah, he was completely out of line. But this is the thing. Father wounds are heavy. Father wounds will keep you from having the life that you desire. You're going to have to process this trauma. And unfortunately, at the end of your father wound begins your mother wound. And you will learn that maybe the whole thing wasn't a lie, but there are aspects where your mother didn't tell you the kind of woman she was to your father. Some of you men need to pay attention to things like your father drove 8 hours to come see you um, and your siblings, and now you drive 8 hours to go see your children. You never tied that together? Dad drove 12 hours. You drive 12 hours now. You're repeating patterns. Yeah, she doesn't necessarily say bad things about you, but the children, but the children know. And you grew up in a situation where your mama she never said really bad things about your dad, but you knew she didn't like your dad. And now you're in a situation where, yeah, you get to see your kids. You see your son, you see your daughter, but you're being manipulated. And no, she probably isn't saying bad things, but you know you got to jump through some hoops. And if you make her upset, it's going to be a whole situation. And then you look at your dad and go, did that happen with my dad? Yes. Yeah, it did. Men, I'm going to speak to men right now. What you're experiencing and your co-parenting, or as my girl Naja Hall, Coach Naja Hall says, your counter-parenting situation is more than I'm gonna give it 99.9% of the time a complete reflection, a mirror image of exactly what your father dealt with your mother. And it's why you were fatherless in the first place. But you're still busy protecting your mother. You're still busy believing her side of the story. You're still busy thinking that who she is as a mother is the same thing she was as a woman. And let me go here, dads. You repeating some patterns, bruh. And you're repeating patterns, and it has your children experiencing the same pain you experienced. And so you don't get to give up in the fight. You don't get to just walk away because you experienced that. And if you walk away like your father walked away, you know exactly how they feel. You know exactly what they're going to experience. And so how dare you let them experience that? I'm all for fighting and then taking a break so you can get yourself together and getting back into the fight. But you never get to give up. Breaks are fine. You never get to give up. Mm-mm, never. She said, put mom in her place early. That relationship was with me and not my brothers. Ooh, gotcha. See, you had different type of kahunas than I did. I had to go through some things because I didn't. My brother had it. He stood up. I didn't know how to do that. I am exhausted. I've had a busy, 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 busy day. We do have some events coming up. Let me talk to you about, and I hope you learned something tonight. I heard you heard something tonight that was a blessing to you. That helped you even look at your situation. You've taken some notes, and you're gonna get off of here, and you're gonna pray, and you're gonna listen to your body and hear what you need. I've got daddy issues. Retreat is in Sedona, Arizona, in just under 2 weeks. Scary. Um, oh no, it's exactly 2 weeks from today. Exactly 2 weeks. You still can register. It is an investment, but it will be worth it. I am bringing speakers. I am bringing thriving coaches. Oh yeah, because a lot of this stuff is trapped in our bodies, and we gonna dance, right? I got my trauma release girl who actually taught me how to do trauma release. Who's coming? Trauma release is tension and trauma and stress release is one of the best things that I've ever done for myself. I hate yoga, but when I was a part of a gym that had me losing crazy amounts of weight and they finally closed, it is insane that I got to find another gym because I done put some pounds back on. But part of the training was spinning, weight training, and yoga. And I hated the yoga part, but I know that the yoga was one of the reasons I was losing weight at the rate I was losing the weight. And I've got to find a way to get back into that type of cycle um, with that workout because it did something for my body. But I'm bringing my fitness trainer from that gym to Sedona to help teach us some things, and yoga is a part of it, but also some weight training. And then I have Latin dance, and I have a speaker who's coming who's a sexologist. I have a trauma informed therapist. He is coming and really going to break down some trauma. I even found a young lady who, Novella, she focused on father and mother wounds, and she teaches you how to feel and then dump those feelings. That's the first day is called surrender, y'all. I got to make you let go, like embrace some things, but then let go of some things because I can't get anything in you until you surrender everything, all the pain, all the emotion. So day one is surrender. Go to I'veGotDaddyIssues.com, pull it up, inbox me if you got questions. But I still have still have enough seats. Trust me. It is only for 50 people. I had 30. Um, I have 30 seats that I had available because some people had already registered. But I'm gonna tell you right now, um, we don't have 30, but we still have a decent amount that can get you registered for this event and come and join us. And then today, um, we have an event coming up in September at the Microsoft office in Atlantic Station. I now have a collaboration that I'm excited about. Um, and I don't have to worry about space ever again in Atlanta unless it's something grand. We're gonna do some converse. We're gonna have conversations, and I can't wait for you guys to see what I get to record on August 20th. I am doing about an hour to 2 hour expose. It won't come out on the 20th, but I'm recording it on August 20th. An expose on what fathers are dealing with, and I believe I'm going to have 5 or 6 fathers who are going to share their stories. I'm going to have family law attorneys sitting there who we're going to have a conversation, and we're going to get down into this thing. So just know I'm bringing all the healing you can stand, and Novella, I'm giving them access to everything they can take. Right? I'm giving you access so you can pull, and eventually come. I think I'm doing it in 2023. I don't know what the month is, but we're doing what is called mother-daughter dialogues, where mothers and daughters spend time getting to know each other as women. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. So pray for me. I'm going to get some rest. I am speaking in Dallas this weekend. Little trip real quick, and then I'll be back in Atlanta doing some more collaborations and getting things in place and getting ready to shoot again on the 20th. And then you guys need to meet me in Sedona, Arizona after that. All right. So you guys have an amazing night, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye.